My refutation is in response to the claim by Sean that referees in sport have changed the outcome of games for their own self-interest. His secondary claims are some referees change a game because of money involved. Referees make calls based on who the call is against, and referees make some decisions differently based on who the home team is. And his first claim that some referees change a game because of money involved. He provides an argument that Tim Donaghy was accused of giving James Batista inside tips on NBA games, and they both pleaded guilty. Now, this is one referee out of 60 referees that officiated the NBA throughout the season in 63 years of NBA history. Now, this is not very strong evidence, and honestly, I think it provides great evidence to show the honesty of these officials. One out of 60 officials in one case in 63 years. And his second argument is that Jay Codon and other referees have asked players for signed and used merchandise, like autographed basketballs and clothing. Now, referees work with these professionals on a monthly basis, 3 to 4 times a week at times, and an autograph is not sufficient enough to influence the NBA official, and there is no evidence to show that the referee actually called the game in favor of the player who gave him autographs. His secondary claims that referees make calls based on who the home team is. Now, he makes the argument that there was one referee who brought cookies to one coach at games. It shows that referees bias towards their coach. Well, if it was the other way around and the coach gave the referee cookies, that could be called a bribe, but I don't see how this can influence, and also it doesn't show any evidence that shows the referee actually called the game in favor of the coach he gave cookies to. His second argument for this claim is that a study showed in the NBA that white officials were more likely to call fouls on black players. Now, this is irrelevant to the main proposition that referees call the games in their own self-interest. This is a case of discrimination against other races. And also the evidence, the source used for this claim is a ticker in Yahoo Sports, which is an instant news, and it's inaccessible actually to display. So I wasn't able to find the evidence, and I didn't know how the statistics were employed in the study. Now, as you probably noticed, there's a greater presence of black players in the NBA, so it's simple mathematics that there'd be more fouls called on them. His third claim is that referees make some decisions differently based on who the home team is. Again, this whole concept, the whole claim, is irrelevant to the main proposition. The referees call the games based on who the home team is. And it isn't self-interest. It's simply home advantage, and both teams get to take advantage of it. Once this season is in the form of one home game and one away game against every team in the league. Again, in the argument, he provides that a study in Harvard led to the idea that the crowd can sway certain referees towards their home team involving English Premier Soccer League. Crowd swaying the referee doesn't say anything about the referee calling the game in his own self-interest. It simply influences the crowd, and it may seem that the crowd sway the referee because take this scenario: there's a foul, there's a harsh tackle, the referee calls the foul, but at the same time, the home crowd, out of sympathy for their player, you know, when you see someone fall down, you say, ouch. It's the same idea. When the home team sees their player get hurt, they all stand up, object, shout, and it may seem, if you look at it from a biased point of view, you see that the referee, you take the perspective that the referee called because all the home crowd stood up, and that influenced the decision. And again, there's no evidence to show that these fouls were wrongly called. His second argument says that referees were in another study that proved that NCAA referees like to keep the foul count even, which favors the aggressive team. Again, why does the referee keeping the foul count even fulfill his self-interest? And also, there is no evidence to prove the foul count even was wrongly called. And his third argument that fewer fouls are called in the home team, which gives them a big advantage. This claim again deviates from the main proposition that the referees call the games for their own self-interest. Now, overall, throughout the whole proposition, there isn't much evidence relevant to the claim, and only one evidence that I mentioned at the beginning, that one referee out of 60 officials throughout the season, and once in the 63 years of NBA history, And I believe that makes a very good case for the honesty of these officials. I believe they deserve a round of applause.
Okay, the main claims are labeled pretty clearly. I thought you did a good job transitioning on the first and second point. Later in the speech, I didn't think the transitions were as clear. You make some good arguments on the reasoning process used by the advocate, and I think you have some good challenges to the way that the analysis is done. You challenge the relevance of a couple of the points, and I think you explained the relevance challenges really well. I do think that you need a little data on your own to counterbalance even an example that you think has been discredited. If you have your own counterexample or some statistics that indicate a different result, then that's going to make your position a lot more valid, and that seemed to be the one thing that maybe was missing from the argument. All right, thank you all very much. Remember not to be here Monday.